Hello, welcome to the opening night gala and fundraiser for Breast Cancer Action's first ever Drawing the Connections. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Oh, we can't hear you. It's a silent applause, but we're so excited you're here and we can feel your love. Drawing the Connections is a week-long art auction that uplifts art and drives forward cultural change and supports Breast Cancer Action's vital work to address and end the breast cancer epidemic. So please check out the link in the chat to view the auction site, donate, and bid on the beautiful photography, prints, original art, and ceramics. I know that many of you have been committed supporters of Breast Cancer Action for many years, and that some of you, like me, are new to the organization. So thank you and welcome one and all. My name is Gabby Pochia, and I am very pleased to be your MC for this new and exciting event. I am also an artist. I'm a stand-up comedian. And the pandemic was pretty hard, for everybody. It was hard not to be able to get out and perform. But I really got through it with self-care. That was my motto. So I really learned how to cook. Thank you. And I learned how to clean. And I feel like I really proved that you can turn a hoe into a housewife, right? Like you're gonna have to close every bar in the state, but you can do it. And that was really, I'm excited to be back though. I have been getting up to some fully vaxxed shenanigans. I was sexting the other day, trying to get back out there. And I messaged somebody, I was like, I want you to fuck me. And my phone changed it to, I want you to fix me. And I was like, touche, phone, touche. How intuitive is this technology where here I am thinking I just needed to get some action and my phone's like, you need a therapist. So fine, I'll just go fix myself. Is that what you want, iPhone? With your help, I can get it done. I'm a big fan of art. I'm so excited everything is opening back up. I love museums. I went on a really great date one time to a museum with this PhD. He was really just a brilliant guy. And he was explaining to me all the art and the symbolism. And, I wanted to say something smart too, right? So I was like, well, I think that the most interesting thing at any museum is the old mirrors, because it's like every time you look into a mirror, you're looking into the face of everybody who's ever looked into it, but all you see is your own reflection. And he was like, that's really deep. But it's actually the plot to that shitty movie Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland, and it's not deep at all. But he was too smart to know that. So I won, and I'm so excited to get back out there. That's a story about art bringing us together. I'm so excited to be here. We have a great evening planned for you. This is going to be a one-of-a-kind evening because Breast Cancer Action isn't like other breast cancer organizations. They're fearless and provocative, and this virtual event is no different. Our incredible speakers will share their unique perspectives on art and activism, what's dubbed art-ivism. And Breast Cancer Action staff will bring you up to date on the exciting direction that the organization is taking. And you will get a sneak peek at just a few of the pieces that are up for auction. But before we get started, I have a little bit of housekeeping to get through. This event is being recorded. You are on mute, but we really encourage you to say hi and share your comments and perspectives in the chat. We know we can't hear you, but we can feel that love. And finally, this event would not be possible without the support of two amazing groups of people. First, the artists who have been so gracious with their time and their talent. We cannot thank you enough. Second, but just as vital, our sponsors have really ensured that Breast Cancer Action starts off on the right foot in meeting their fundraising goals. So please, thank you to the following: Pratap and Chitra Paul, Peggy Houston, Richard Ghostball, Karen Klein and Ben Golvin, Mechanics Bank, Betsy Cotton, Ben Home with Home Services, Gail Kaufman, Tracy Colian, Leanne Slincard, and Maria Morris. Okay, so I'm so excited to get this started. Without further ado, let's get this party going. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Breast Cancer Action's Director Chair, Laura Hamasaka. Laura has a background in program development and management with more than 30 years of experience in local and national nonprofits, the public sector, and philanthropy. She has worked in a variety of areas, including public health, youth development and leadership, and environmental justice. She spent 10 years working in program development, technical assistance, and training, as well as grant management for national services at the San Francisco Conservation Corps, Youth Service Alliance, and the Corporation for National Service, where she managed a grant portfolio of nearly $10 million, serving 13 national nonprofit organizations. In late 1990s, Laura was the director of the new site development at City Year AmeriCorps. She's also served as the associate director for network development in ClearCorps, a childhood-led poisoning education and prevention program. I'm really excited to hear what she has to say about this. And so please take it away, Laura.
Thank you so much, Gabby. I love what you said when you said art brings us together, because that's so true. I want to thank all of you who are participating this evening with our important event. We're so glad you're here with us. I want to thank our sponsors, as Gabby did, for helping to make this event possible. And I want to thank the staff for all of the hard work that you did to bring this event to life. I want to thank the artists for your creativity, your activism, and your kindness to breast cancer action. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Hamasaka. As Gabby said, I serve as the board chair for Breast Cancer Action. Unfortunately, Crystal Redman, our executive director, cannot be here this evening. She does send her regrets. Crystal asked that I uplift our vision as we continue our health justice work. This is a really exciting time for our organization. We have a new executive director with Crystal, and we're in a period of visioning and planning. We've started our strategic planning process that will help us to expand our reach and increase our impact. We are working to sharpen our vision, mission, values, and program work. We're being really thoughtful and intentional in how we enter movement space. And of course, we are doing so with an anti-racist lens. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we're aligning our work with the commitments we made to you. I want to talk a little bit about intersectionality. It's important that organizations be intentional as they strive towards being intersectional. Being intersectional, or drawing the conclusions, is about our lived experiences, our identities, and the movement spaces where we sit. Being intersectional must be meaningful. It's not just saying you're intersectional. Let me be clear, it's not about being cute. It is centering those deep inside the margins, those furthest from the access to power. It's about looking at the whole person, their entire being, all of the systems that impact their lives, and their ability to thrive. And really, it's about ensuring that they have the opportunity to thrive. This event, Drawing the Connections, it's new, it's intentional, clearly it's art-centered, and it's innovative. I'm really proud of the staff. This event is the perfect alignment of our values and our approach to fundraising. We want to carve out a unique space, illustrate how we draw the intersections, how we art-ivism, again, art and activism. And really, it's central to how we get to health justice. Art is a form of radical resistance, organizing, and culture shift work. Breast Cancer Action is not a part of just one movement. We sit at the intersection of multiple movements. So we are reaching out to new artists and new spaces. And we're working to connect all of our core programming priorities of health justice, public health, science, and grassroots organizing. All of this sits inside of an anti-racism bubble. We want to recognize the artists in all of these movements, those in the movements now and those who came before us. We want to engage and lift up the beauty that already exists in these movements. And we are doing so through a breast cancer lens and ultimately through our breast cancer action lens. As you all know, we are grassroots and we need you. We are people-powered. Most of our funding comes from you. As I said before, we are being intentional in creating this fundraising space. Drawing the Connection celebrates beauty, art, and all of that within the movement spaces. It invites intersectional connections between science and social justice. We are here to raise funds for the work of breast cancer action. Later, you'll hear from Jayla Burton, our program manager, who will talk about our program priorities. I hope you join us in growing this work and shaping our one-of-a-kind approach to health justice. You can do this by registering for the auction and bidding for a piece of art, purchasing one of our buy now options, or donating directly to Breast Cancer Action. You should know your contribution will support artists, uplift culture change, and support our organizational growth so we can address and end breast cancer by changing how we envision and carry out health justice. I really want to thank all of you so much for being here and for joining us in Breast Cancer Activists. Now go and check out all of the incredible art our artist activists have contributed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. You heard her, folks. Don't just be cute, draw the connections. This is such an exciting time for this organization, and these exciting times need support from people like you, which is why we're here tonight and the rest of this week to bid on auction items, buy one or more of the prints that are on sale, or just make a donation. And speaking of prints for sale, I'm so excited to introduce your next speaker, Fabiana Rodriguez, whose print Survivor Justice 2 is available for sale at the auction. Fabiana Rodriguez is an interdisciplinary artist, cultural strategist, and social justice activist based in Oakland. Her art and praxis address migration, gender justice, climate change, racial equity, and sexual freedom. Her practice boldly reshapes the myths, stories, and cultural practices of the present while healing from the wounds of the past. Fabiana's projects include Ben & Jerry's Pecan Resist, very delicious, 2 large-scale public art commissions with the city of San Francisco, and an upcoming storytelling initiative at the US-Mexico border. She's up to some great things. Her work serves as a record of her human experiences as a woman of color, embracing joy, sexual pleasure, and personal transformation through psychedelics as an antidote to the lifelong impacts of systematic racism. Her signature mark making embodies the perspective of first-generation American Latinx artist with Afro-Latinx roots who grew up in Oakland during the birth of the hip hop and during the crack cocaine epidemic. But there is more. She is also the co-founder and the president of the Center for Cultural Power, a national organization igniting change at the intersection of art, culture, and social justice. She has been awarded numerous fellowships and accolades for her work. She has co-founded various institutions like the Eastside Arts Alliance, a cultural center and affordable housing complex in Oakland, and Presente.org, the largest Latino online organization community in the US. She is working on a short form web-based series about sex and consent, but right now, Fabiana is preparing for an artist residency in LA, and she's generously created a video for the event. So let's check it out.
Hello, my name is Fabiana Rodriguez, and I am an artist, activist, and president at the Center for Cultural Power. And I believe strongly in the transformative power of arts and culture because art and culture transforms our imagination and helps us see what's possible. It creates momentum for change, and it allows for us to imagine and to really feel a future that has not yet arrived. And cultural change precedes political change. Before there is a change in laws, before we can achieve policy change, we first have to adopt an idea. An idea has to become normalized. And that is what artists and cultural workers do so well, is that they help propel ideas, they help to open the doors for more stories. They help us to really feel what social change can be, what it can look like, what it can feel like. And the power of arts and culture is something that often we have not leveraged in the social justice sector, right? We see arts and culture as something nice, but arts and culture is a necessity. We absolutely need the arts, because the arts allows us to feel like we belong, you know. And when I talk about the arts, it's about visual art, film, television, dance, performance, the books we read, the dolls we play with. It's so important for us to see ourselves reflected in culture. And the only way you can do that is by creating spaces for artists to represent their experiences, especially artists of color, BIPOC artists, queer, trans artists, artists who have been largely marginalized. Now, I grew up in Oakland, California during the era of the war on drugs, and I grew up surrounded by violence, pollution, and really neglect from the state. And art is what helped me see myself in a different light. Art helped me imagine another kind of future, and through art, I could go into other worlds. And that's exactly why art is powerful, is because it helps us heal, it helps us see. It also allows for us to see a different kind of future. And I became an artist because I was really longing to be seen as a Latina, as a daughter of immigrants, as a young girl who grew up in a mixed race household. I did not see representations of Afro-Peruvians, not in Spanish language television, not in English language television. So I became an artist because I wanted to see my stories, the stories of my community, of my family, reflected in pop culture. And I think it's so important to support artists and cultural workers just as much as we support movement organizers and people working in health. We absolutely need to uplift the work of artists, especially in these times, because in these times we are in a moment of significant cultural shift, right? The pandemic, the racial reckoning, the economic crisis, and the climate crisis has intersected to create a moment of cultural shift that we have never experienced before as human beings. And so we urgently need new narratives, new stories. We need to actually return also to our ancestral stories so that we could address these crises and help our human race heal, and also to help heal our planet. And the role of artists has never been more important. So thank you for supporting artists, especially supporting artist activists. It is a critical time to expand our imagination and to leverage the tools of creativity to write new narratives. Thank you so much.
We want to thank Fabiana so much for her participation. Her words are so true and so inspiring. Please check out her piece, Survivor Justice 2, for sale on the auction. Thank you again, Fabiana, that you're really an inspiring artist. And I am so excited for this next part. I'm going to share with you one of the pieces that you can bid on in the auction. Here is a 22 by 15 photographic print called Tether by Tyler Young, a young artist from Toledo, Ohio. And this piece just depicts the hope and the uplifting spirit that can happen even in a environment degraded by industrial waste and environmental injustice, and also look really good, do it in a white two-piece suit. It's really beautiful. In Tyler's own words, she says, "I love photography because it allows people to see what I see through my lens and how I'm able to bring ideas to life. It is a source of creativity and it is my safe space. There are many ways to tell a story, and photography is how I choose to tell mine." Tyler also has a set of 3 8x10 prints from her Black Lives Matter series. The winning bid gets you all 3, and that is just amazing. Thank you so much, Tyler Young. And our next speaker now has such a powerful story, and everyone at Breast Cancer Action and I are honored that she is sharing her experience with us. Gay Heyer has been a Breast Cancer Action member since meeting the staff at a US Supreme Court meeting during the arguments in the Myriad Genetics case in 2012. She is an 11-year survivor of, she is an 11-year survivor of triple negative breast cancer. She is one of the last patients to have to suffer the terror and the indignity of losing their health insurance coverage after her diagnosis just before the ACA took effect. But once she finished a year of rigorous treatment and founded Art New Haven, which brings together patients, survivors, and their supporters with listed regional artists in a very unusual form of art therapy, creating works that expresses the person's feelings about their experience of breast cancer. Stories like Gay's are the ones that drive Breast Cancer Action to advocate for universal health care. But that's enough from me. Let's hear from Gay now.
At Breast Cancer Action for having me this evening. It's an honor to be here, and good evening, everybody who's joining us. As Gabby noted, I am a survivor of triple negative breast cancer. And after a year of treatment and recovery, having to deal with the emotional and psychological backlash and fallout of all of that, the last thing that anyone needs are the financial, social, and legal issues that sometimes follow from that. And when I finished my treatment, because my pathology was unusual, being triple negative, I was asked if I would donate my tumor tissue for research, for genetic research. And I said yes. And not long after that, the geneticists here at the Smilow Cancer Center and the Yale New Haven Hospital Medical Center and Medical School were amongst a number of institutions that received injunctions against doing that kind of research on that tissue because Myriad Genetics, this company, had come up with the test for that, finding the BRCA1 and 2 mutations, and they refused to allow anyone to do any other research on the tissues. That was the genesis of the Myriad Genetics case, which was being argued at the Supreme Court, which is where I met the Breast Cancer Action people. And I was very, very impressed by their seriousness of purpose. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be part of their efforts, because no one should have to deal with all of those issues on top of getting well. So I am the activist part of this. The artist part of this is my dear courtesy Aunt Edith, who is the artist who did the two pieces that are part of this auction tonight. Edith was an extraordinary woman. She was born in the 1920s, grew up as a child of the Depression in New York City, a child of Eastern European immigrants. She was a young bride during the Second World War and used her artist's training and her eye to work on aerial photography for the Air Force, what became the Air Force. And then after that, she moved to Long Island, where she was an art teacher. And where she lived was over land that had been the potato fields, where they used a lot of fertilizer and pesticides. After that, she moved to Connecticut, where she met my mother, and they became very best friends. And approximately, just not quite 30 years ago, she called my mother, and she was very upset that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And my mother said, "We'll take care of it. We'll help you. We'll do everything that needs to be done. I'll take you to your treatments, your appointments. It'll be cool." And so she did. And we got her through it. And I've known Edith for 40 years now, or more than 40 years. My mother died about 15 years ago. And 11 years ago, Edith called me and said, "Oh my God, I've had a recurrence." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay, Edith, we're just gonna go at it the way we did before. And I'll help you all I can, and we'll take you to your appointments and your treatments." 2 weeks later, I got diagnosed myself. And so we went through it together. it's a bonding experience like nothing else you can imagine. And Edith she didn't give up the first time, and she wasn't going to give up the second time. She had more to say with her art, and her mind tangles. That's what she called her artwork, her mind tangles. And after a year of treatment, when I would call her and ask, are you doing all right? Are you in pain? She said something that was the most incredible thing I've ever heard. She said, when I'm in pain, I add a T, I paint. And that's where her art came from. And when she was in her second round of treatment, it started out that it was very dark and amorphous. And as she went through the treatment, it got more congealed and more bright and colorful. And she made more connections. And those are the two pieces that you see that are in the auction tonight, is the woman entangled, the woman enigma, and then the connections that she made because of all the people who helped her get through. And we lost Edith last year, March. She was 93, and she was still working until a week before she died, going through her third round of treatment. We had to bring all her art supplies in with her to the treatment center. And I know that she would be very happy to know that her art is helping to support the important and vital work of Breast Cancer Action. So thank you again for having me, and bid generously. Take care.
Thank you so much, Gay. That was a beautiful story. Let's send some silent applause out to Gay and some real love for Aunt Edith and her beautiful work. Just thank you so much. That was a great story about family and support, and so relatable for so many of us going through those hard times right now. So now let's take a look at some more art. Gay isn't the only artist in the auction who has been involved with Breast Cancer Action for a while. So take a look at these beautiful pieces. Right here we have A Spirit in the Sky. It is a 20 by 20 poster by Rebecca Katz. Rebecca has donated her art to Breast Cancer Action's auctions before. She is a professional chef who has found her niche in food and healing. And for her, making art and cooking creatively are both opportunities to be fully present in life and to pay attention to color, texture, and composition, to be inspired by nature, and to be so absorbed in tasks that time expands. And that working in her kitchen or studio is an immersive experience in a vibrant, reverent, tactile, visual world. So thank you so much for your support, Rebecca. We also have our other beautiful piece by Michelle Oppenheimer. Over the past 20 years, Michelle has become well known for her composing paintings that capture the imaginative and organic possibilities of abstract watercolor and acrylic. Her art has been heralded for its calming and therapeutic nature. Michelle's skilled blending color and texture have earned her national acclaim, with representation at Los Angeles County Museum of Art Sales and Rentals and exhibitions at Bergamot Station, as well as numerous supplementary showings at galleries across the country. And about this piece, Michelle says, I did a series for breast cancer. My mother died 6 years ago from breast cancer. I decided to do a face series with one eye to represent that even though you might have had to let go of a part of your body, you will still have the vision to move through the world with a different lens. So thank you so much for sharing those words and that powerful piece with us, Michelle. So I hope that seeing this art is inspiring you to check out the auction and support Breast Cancer Action. But maybe we need a little bit more about their work right now. So to offer that, here's Breast Cancer Action's program manager, Jayla Burton. Jayla is a graduate of the University of San Francisco with dual masters in public health and behavioral sciences. She has a passion for reducing health disparities, promoting social justice, and advocating for best practices in healthcare. She's worked in global health, women's health, behavioral health, and harm reduction. And here as the program manager, Jayla works with Breast Cancer Action to execute the annual Think Before You Pink campaign and all other national campaigns. So please join me now in welcoming Jayla.
Thank you so much, Gabby, and thank you everyone else for being here today. I'm so excited to tell you all more about Breast Cancer Action's work. For those of you that I haven't yet to meet, my name is Jayla Burton, and as Gabby said, I'm the program manager here at this incredible organization. So many of you may know, most of you who may not know, but Breast Cancer Action has 3 core programmatic priorities that have always been issues of breast cancer screening, diagnosis, and treatment, addressing the root causes of breast cancer through environmental exposures, and then lastly, taking on pink ribbon marketing and culture. Within this 3-prong health justice approach to breast cancer, just as Laura mentioned, how we center intersectionality as a core of our work and how we structure fundraising spaces is extremely important. So too is how we choose our advocacy and education campaigns. As many of you know and have joined us in action, 2 recent areas of focus for our organization have been our work with and around the National Cancer Institute, as well as our latest podcast episodes, which, shameless plug, if you haven't had a chance to listen to, please go do that. And our work aimed at the NCI, the nation's leading cancer agency that providers and researchers all look to. We continue to push the agency to be transparent and update its materials better to reflect the growing body of evidence linking environmental exposures to increased breast cancer risk. And we aren't letting up on this work. This work runs so much more deeper than just pushing the agency to update their website. This work is rooted in system transformation and fundamentally changing the way our government understands and communicates breast cancer prevention so that it is truly prevention and not just a passive acceptance of the failure to regulate dangerous chemicals in our environment. Our most recent podcast episode, released last week, entitled Addressing Disparities, Screening versus Systematic Change, features 3 guests speaking to lived experience of their communities and their breast cancer-oriented organizations. And here's a fun sneak peek. Our next podcast episode, which is slated for late June, will discuss the breast cancer experiences of those with queer and trans identities. These 2 recent breast cancer action projects reflect our core program areas, and we select projects and campaigns like this because of our unique people-centered lens. No single injustice can be effectively addressed in isolation, and we recognize injustices reinforce each other in many different ways, which is why our work is fundamentally intersectional. People don't exist in vacuums, just as issues of breast cancer don't exist in a vacuum. Our connecting of multiple lenses, a health justice approach, a value of evidence-based information are equally important and valid. Results in how we select projects that are a priority to us and a reflection of our unique niche in the breast cancer movement. We are connectors as we are contributors, and we make the case for the intersections that others do not through an anti-racist, prevention-centered, and health justice approach. When we first embarked in our anti-fracking work, we got so many questions about how that was even related to breast cancer. Today, that work has expanded tremendously. And we continue to educate and mobilize around the problematic fossil fuel industry, which exposes people to endocrine disrupting and carcinogenic chemicals that increase the risk of many health harms, including breast cancer. Our work to make the connection and phase out fossil fuel infrastructure in the state of California lays the ground for us to do our future work on the connection between the national climate crisis and breast cancer. We do this work through an environmental justice lens and use our power and privilege to call out environmental racism that disproportionately affects communities of color and those on the front lines. In addition to our environmental work, we are a community partner in a study which seeks to deepen our understanding of the relationship between trauma and increased breast cancer risk by exploring whether the adversity of systemic racism, which can lend a hand in where we live, can also affect the risk of disease. And let us not forget the work that we are doing to continue to move the needle to push for universal access to care. And this is a head nod for the Supreme Court ruling today that overturned the repeated repeals or attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act, but we know that this work still needs to move forward. So your support of the work that we do is so important because our organization holds this necessary and unmatched space in the field of health justice for all people living with and at risk of breast cancer. This disease is impacted by political issues, and it will need large systemic solution. I invite you to join us in this work by taking action on our current and upcoming campaigns, and by supporting our commitment to these priorities with a donation that make this work possible. Thank you so much for being here and for your work to bring forward our shared vision of a world where lives and communities are not threatened by breast cancer. And I'll pass it back over to Gabby.
Thank you, Jayla. Those were wonderful words. I can't wait to listen to your podcast on the National Cancer Institute. Unshameless plug. The work that Breast Cancer Actions work does is so important. And did you know that they get 70% of their funding from individuals like us? And that's why we're here today. So please bid on that art, buy a print, or just make a donation. The link to donate is in the chat. And would you like to see some more art now? Yeah, me too. So please check out this piece that really speaks to Breast Cancer Action's independence. It is a 16 by 25 print on canvas, Rage Against the Cancer Industry, by Breast Cancer Action member Susan Learoff. Susan is a digital artist. In her words, I am a breast cancer survivor. My work is a combination of painting combined with photo imagery, and much of my work is political and some is nautical. I've painted much imagery from Oakland, and I've published books of my work. So I really connect with this piece. It is just shows the anger and the frustration and the betrayal of putting industrial benefits in front of the people and in front of public health. And that little flower screaming, that reminds me a lot of me. And that's how it feels. And you should bid on this piece. This could be a bring the passion into your home. And you could remember this wonderful event that we're having now. And so now I am so honored to introduce our final speaker, Christy Chan. Christy is an interdisciplinary artist based in Oakland and working primarily in video, installation, performance, and oral storytelling. Her work has been included in exhibitions at Cala Art Institute, Southern Exposure, Root Division, Soma Arts, the Los Angeles Film Festival, and in storytelling venues such as NPR, Get a Tote Bag. She has been awarded residencies and support from Bernice Center for Contemporary Arts, Montalavo Art Center, Project 387, Cala Art Institute, Headland Center for the Arts in Real Time and Space in Oakland. She is working on the multimedia storytelling and film project Pen Pals, which has been featured on NPR Snap Judgment and in the New York Times. Pen Pals is the story of Shelley, an 8-year-old girl who writes idealistic letters to the Ku Klux Klan after the Klan has targeted her family. And the story is based on real life events. Pen Pals draws on Chan's own experience growing up in a Southern town with a white nativist movement, an experience that continues to inform her ongoing explorations of race, power, and what it means to be an American. I'm so excited about this talk, so let's go ahead and hear from Christy.
Thanks, Gabby, for that warm introduction. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well tonight. I really appreciate everyone joining us for this gala. So as Gabby mentioned, I do work. I do multidisciplinary artwork. A lot of my artwork focuses on raising the voices of communities who are underrepresented and creating space for issues that are not centralized in mainstream culture. The first piece of work we're looking at here says Try Matriarchy, and I'd like to share with you the background behind this piece that's in the auction, because it tells a greater story than you might suspect at first. This work is documentation of a public art piece I did 2 years ago called Inside Out Richmond. And what I did during that, what I did for that project was I gathered autobiographical statements from citizens in Richmond, California, which is one of the most diverse cities in America, with 30% of our residents foreign born. And I gathered statements with the intention of turning them into 6-story projections on Richmond City Hall. So what you're looking at is a phrase that Richmond citizen Leah Timmerman contributed to the project, which I then turned into a 6-story projection. The point of this project was to raise voices that are often not visible, but even more so when this happened in 2019, the word wall was being weaponized to terrorize primarily immigrant citizens. And so I wanted to use this project to, instead of using a wall to divide us, use a wall to give everyone a platform for sharing their authentic selves. So we got statements in many different languages, and this one happens to be Leah Timmerman's, and it says "Try matriarchy." And I felt it might be appropriate for our event today. Many of the statements, so I should mention there were 1,000 submissions that came in 4 weeks. So there are lots of people who have things to say about their community, about their lives. Many of the submitters were women. Many of them submitted anonymously because they were not legal residents and feared that if they did not submit anonymously, that there would be repercussions for saying the things they needed to say. So Try Matriarchy, again, was part of a larger project called Inside Out Richmond. If you want to know more about the project, you can go to my website, christychan.com, and there are many pictures of the different phrases that were projected. And I'm always proud to work on community projects where we can represent people who normally don't even perhaps visit galleries, who perhaps don't usually have access to art. As an artist, I really believe that art is tied to the health of our communities. People need to have a voice in order to have a healthy community. And moving on to the second piece, this piece is called All Is Not Lost. And I'll share a little bit about the backstory of this piece. I created this piece. I started developing this piece in 2017. And the reason it's feels very personal to me, and like the first piece that I just shared, all my work is meant to create space for vulnerability, create space for authentic storytelling. So this piece began because I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I went through a pretty big health crisis. I had malignant polyps that had to be removed, and I was unable to eat solid food for 2 to 3 months. And so I was very, very ill. I lost 20% of my body weight, and it took about 1.5 years to recover and even be able to eat normally again. So after this period of time, there was just a lot of uncertainty. And something I realized was that we don't give a lot of space for people to grieve and just be with uncertainty in our culture. In our culture, we celebrate resolution, we celebrate success. We don't necessarily really look at the journey of how hard it is to be a human being. So one of the few things that made me feel better while I was in this recovery time between 2017 to 2018 was I simply drove around and shot video of waterfalls. I didn't know where it was going to lead, but I just drove around literally the country filming waterfalls. And eventually I realized that I should make a composite of these waterfalls and project them on a building. So what you're looking at is actually a picture of a public art piece in which we projected a waterfall flowing backwards in upstate New York, just off the Metro North train line. It could be viewed from the train. It was a 6-story waterfall that was slowly flowing backwards. And so it's and you could see it for miles around. It was kind of ghostly. And it was just meant to be it was just meant to create a space where people could have space for grief, have space for uncertainty, and it was meant to be intimate. It could be experienced together. People came out from their homes and watched it together. And we ended up having it up from 2019 to parts of 2020. And when it was up during 2020 last year, I was told, so this was in New York, But when it was up in 2020, I was told that people really did have quite an experience with it because it was a time when we all felt so alone and isolated. And it was something that you could go outside and look at. So I'm always proud to make art that offers a service to the public, to the community, and gives us a chance to see each other as human beings, see each other's journeys, and feel like we are all involved in a more inclusive way. So that's my interest in speaking and being part of this event as well, which I'm honored to speak at, which is anytime we can raise each other's voices, see each other's journeys, I think that's only better for the health of communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy. That is a beautiful piece. I wish I could let that waterfall fall all over me right now. I also just want to thank you so much, Christy. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating tonight and letting me guide you through this evening. And thank you to Breast Cancer Action for bringing together so many artists and letting a comedian like me bring my bizarre art and showing that everybody can be a part of art-ivism. This has been a truly beautiful event. And now I would like to introduce another member of Breast Cancer Action staff, Development Manager Lopa Pal. Lopa manages Breast Cancer Action's fundraising activities, ensuring that the organization has the resources it needs to fulfill its mission. It has been wonderful getting to know her better. She brings a passion for environmental justice and building intentional and long-term relationships between donors and organizations. Take it away, Lopa.
Well, hi, everyone. Wow, what an evening. Thank you, Gabby, for both entertaining and guiding us tonight. And thank you to all of our speakers and artists whose work we've been enjoying throughout this event. And well, of course, thanks to all of you for spending this past hour with us. I mean, are you as inspired as I am right now? If you are, please let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. But you know, here's something else I find inspiring. You. Breast Cancer Action's conflict of interest policy doesn't allow us to accept funds from any company that profits from or contributes to breast cancer. That's why we get the vast majority of our funding from individuals like you. In my 5 years with the organization, I have gained so much respect for our supporters. The people who support Breast Cancer Action are thoughtful and fierce. You donate, you advocate, and you take action. Everything you do makes a difference. As Laura said, we are intentional about how we create a fundraising space for you. We are grassroots, we are people-powered. Fundraising isn't just about meeting an annual budget, it's about people having a stake in change. You are vital stakeholders in the change that we are all making in the world. And so are these artists every day. They advance culture change through their art, and we are so thankful that they have joined us tonight and in our shared effort to achieve health justice by sharing their art. And in living out our belief that artists should be compensated for their work, we have offered a portion of their sale price back to them. So tonight and through June 25th, I hope you'll help us support these amazing artists and BC Action's work by bidding on the art, buying one or more of the prints that we have for sale, making a donation, and sharing the auction link with your friends and your entire community. Because together we can do something besides worry. Thank you for all you do to address and end breast cancer. And now, to close us out for the evening, it's my honor to introduce Caro Novella. Caro is a Catalan artist and activist working with improvisation, experimental dance, and performance art to move health through creative practice. Diagnosed with breast cancer in 2011 and committed to doing something about it and doing it together, she created Onco Girls. Onco Girls is a performance project that aims to resist the individualization of the disease and gathers people into processes of joint creation, or on co-creation, for oncological change and social healing. Her work has been awarded and recognized by museums, feminist art festivals, and health institutions across Spain, Mexico, Colombia, and the United States. Born in Barcelona and currently living in California, she holds an MA in dance and health communications and a PhD in performance studies from the University. Once again, thanks to all of you for being here tonight, and please join me in welcoming Caro Novella.
Thank you. Thank you, Lopa. Thank you, everybody. It is an honor to be part of this fierce and caring community. And I feel deeply touched and grateful for the circle that has been cast. I bring a closing ceremony to gather all the energies and threads that have been invoked and make them flesh while we transit to less pixelated worlds. So we are going to move from the visual mind to the felt sense. And from our bodies, we will create a sensory sharing of this evening. Let's begin by dropping into our bodies. With the tips of your fingers, slightly tap across your face. It's like the rain. Feel the rain on your head, your neck. Yes, your arms. Feel the pleasure of this fresh rain. And bring this tapping into your chest. Now, wrap your hands and place them across your chest and belly. I invite you to close your eyes. Take a few breaths and notice the rhythms already within you. Your heartbeat and the tidal movement of your breathing. Let these rhythms bring you into a rocking movement. It can be side to side or front to back. As you sense the rhythms within you, now let one image from this past hour come into your experience. It might be a picture, a color, a texture. Stick with whatever first comes to mind. What does it feel like in you? How does your body feel in relation to this image? Which senses are aroused? Do any memories and intentions come up? Stay with it. A few more breaths. And when you're ready, open your eyes and share in the chat one thing that bubbled up for you in relation to the experience. Let's close this gala ritual with our joint creation. Yeah, deep gratitude, self-care, peace, yes. While we all co-create these final thoughts and images, just want to call that may we all be nourished by the connections drawn today. Be well.